Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Christina Myers. I am an energetics practitioner and teacher based in the United States. And I welcome you if you are new here, and welcome back if you are returning. So we have a lot of activity going on. We are on the precipice of moving into the month of June and the summer solstice coming up, which is always a beautiful time of the year because the solstices, the summer and the winter solstice, and then the equinoxes are major energetic pivot points for us collectively. It's almost a rebalancing of the energies that we go through those 4 times a year. And of course, the solstice, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, is this amazing time of abundance because we have the abundance of the sun. It is the starting to harvest all of the seeds that we have been planting, the ideas that we have been ruminating on. And we are at the precipice, we are at the forefront of being able to start to reap the rewards from all of the hard work that we have been putting in. And this last year has been nothing short of a tremendous shift for everyone collectively. We had a very tough road the last half of 2023. There's been so many astrological shifts going on. Relationships were really at the forefront of that time. Especially last summer when we had 7 planets in retrograde, including Venus and Chiron. Venus and Chiron were really exposing our personal wounding as well as our relationships. And so there has been so much shifting happening where a lot of the relationships that we had in our lives have been dissipating, have been falling away. And we've been in this rebirth process as we entered 2024. And the eclipse in April was, again, another pivot point for us to start to fully step into our personal power, be able to walk our path, really tapping into more of that higher consciousness, the soul level, looking at things from a higher perspective as we made that big pivot point in April. And we're starting to really begin to emerge into our new pathway, into this new consciousness, into this new awareness. And so the solstice is really a time, I would say, for us to start to embrace and leverage the energy of the sun, the energy of the warmth, to be able to begin to fully blossom and expand in this whole new world that we are starting to see emerge and change. With any sort of growth opportunity, of expansion, if you're calling this a spiritual journey, this is a human journey, this is your soul's journey, obviously, to come in and incarnate into a human experience and then to be able to learn and grow from that. But we are seeing a lot of what I would call a contraction and expansion opportunities here. And with all of the extra support energy that is coming in on the planet from the sun right now, and we're starting to see a turnaround of the sun at this time where we are going to get even more activity earth facing, especially as we're going into the first part of June here. That active region that came in earlier in May that produced all of these beautiful aurora borealis as far south as Florida and even into Australia, that's starting to come back into view. And today I think we've had 4 M-class flares as well as an X-class flare. So those supportive energies that are coming in, not only from the sun, but from other dimensions, other planets, other dimensions, things that we don't necessarily can see with our own eyes, but we can feel these shifts starting to happen. And as we go through this, a lot of us are experiencing these big bursts of expansion where you feel this huge energy shift come in. and the creativity starts to flow in, and the aha moments start to come through. The awareness is beginning to change. So we're seeing things from a different perspective. Definitely a higher perspective is coming through right now for all of us to be able to get out of the details, get out of the little pieces of looking at things from down here and beginning to zoom up and really see things from this higher perspective. And so that allows for this expansion process. But as we expand, we also have to do an integration process whenever we're adjusting to these new frequencies. And so then that becomes the contraction process. And so you will find yourself needing to retreat from time to time, where you need to just kind of go silent. You need to get off social media. You need to get off any distractions that are coming around and really go inward. And I know I have found myself definitely going through this process the last week, where I've wanted to spend much more time diving into the yard work, communing with my plants, walking through nature, being outside more and barefoot, my feet on the ground, and going into that more inner process, that processing time that's very much needed. So just know that this is very normal. It's definitely this expansion and contraction that we go through. Sometimes it can be a roller coaster ride that we're going through as well, as these additional energies are coming in, and then we need time to integrate and retreat. There has been a lot of physical symptoms coming in this past week. The Schumann resonance has also been showing very high intensity energies over the past week coming in. These are super high frequencies, so they are shifting our perspective. They're shifting our physical bodies as well. So when these energies come in, our physical system, it has to be like this gradual turn up of the dial on the energies, because if we were to go full blast, our physical body can't handle it. And this last week has been interesting because not only have dreams been extremely vivid, there's been a lot of activity in the astral, especially around cleaning up unresolved relationships, unresolved issues, very unconscious belief patterns that are being cleared up in the astral. But the physical body itself has also been impacted, and some of the symptoms have been just a lot of aches and pains. It almost feels as though you're going through a growth spurt. So the body is just trying to readjust physically to try and hold these frequencies and to shift and change with them. And then also a lot of, I've seen a lot of respiratory issues as well with people. So this is helping to clear out the lungs. Are really it's the prana. We need the prana to be able to live fully. And a lot of us are not breathing in fully. And we're holding a lot of grief. We're holding a lot of grief in the lungs. So this is a clearing process to release from some of those pieces. And as we're being pushed, we're also being pushed energetically to look and examine every aspect of our life. And this is part of an untethering process that we're going through, where we're having to do some deep examination about our lives, our thought patterns, our belief patterns, the things that we have always just kind of accepted. And a lot of things are coming to the forefront right now collectively for us to have an awakening moment. We're having a reckoning moment to understand what we've just tolerated, right? What we've tethered into and what we've just tolerated versus what we want the world to look like, when we want our world to look like moving forward. And as we move into this Aquarian era, it is about having more community, having more balance, having more peace, having systems that work for everybody. And that is the big shift that I think that we're going to be really seeing. And as we start to amplify through these energies keep ramping up. And as we wind our way through 2024, we're only going to see this begin to increase even more. And we're being supported by all of the solar flares coming in, the activity on the Schumann resonance. You're seeing that the frequency is changing. You're seeing that these energies are intensifying, and this is starting to shift your perspective even deeper, even more. You're starting to look. Not only are you recognizing your own self-worth and getting what I would call epiphanies about your true purpose and your soul's mission here. That's going to be very much at the forefront of this shift, but you're also seeing how things are not working in the world in general. So it's shifting us in many, many different ways, for sure. There's two key things as part of this consciousness shift that we are working on releasing from. The first thing is fear. And the more centered and balanced that we can become, the less fearful we are. And a lot of us are walking around with an unregulated nervous system, and a lot of us are walking around with an immense amount of trauma in our energy field. Not always our trauma, but it could be ancestral trauma, it can be past life trauma that we're walking around in. So there's that underlying fear that can get trapped in the energy field. And this is where the untethering process comes through. And the energy field's so complex and so layered. There's just layer after layer after layer of storylines and roles you've played and ideas and thought patterns and ancestral behaviors and all of the things, right, that are always residing within our energy field. So part of the big work is untethering from each of those things, taking off those layers that we collect throughout our life, or that we bring into this life. And that also relates to the karmic contracts that you have with other people or situations, and also untethering from those contracts and untethering from the karma. So when you can be karma free, and it's very difficult to be karma free when you're in a human form. That's part of being in a human form, is that you are collecting karma and you're having these experiences with other people that is creating karma. But the idea is to release from the negative karma and move more into the dharma pieces and release from the fear. And I think when you start to feel this ease in your life, when you start to feel more flow in your life, when you start to feel more joy in your life, that's when you know you're on the path of higher consciousness, the ability to untether from all the different things that you have locked into over the years. So it's a big process that we're all going through right now, but it's a very important process for us to move through this, to be able to move to these higher states of consciousness. So lots of things happening for sure. So I want to talk a little bit about what we have in store for June, because the energies there's a lot of lovely energies happening in June, but we also see an amplification as well of these energies that I've been talking about, because they are starting to really shift and change and ramp up. So the biggest thing leading into June is that we just had Jupiter move into Gemini. This happens about every 13 months when Jupiter changes signs. And the last time that Jupiter was in Gemini was in 2012, 2013. So we have another go around of Jupiter in Gemini. And if you want to know how this is going to impact you directly, you can get your natal chart. If you don't have your natal chart, you can get your natal chart. Like, just go to astro.com, type in your birth information, and you can see where Gemini resides in your chart. This sign is more about communication. It's more about trying to obtain information. It's not really focused on like the higher picture. It's focused more in the details. And this is where kind of the push and pull comes along as far as trying to find balance for ourselves. We really want to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, but Gemini wants to kind of go more into the weeds, more into the details on that. It is the jack of all trades, the master of none. It's very social, but it's also the twin, right? It's got two different sides to it, two different pieces, views of the coin per se. So I can expect to see, I think what we'll expect to see is a lot more ramp up in communications, a lot more stories being told, a lot more misinformation potentially happening, because wherever Jupiter is, it's going to expand. It's going to put a spotlight on wherever it is in the chart, and it's going to really amplify that energy. It's going to expand it out. It's about expansion and abundance. That's what Jupiter is. So if you think back to 2012, 2013, what was going on in your life in that time frame, you might be able to get some clues as to maybe what some of the themes are going to be this time around. Your house is really important. The house placement is really important to understand exactly those bigger themes. Your first house is going to be about yourself, your outlook on life, like the lens in which you see your life. Your second house is going to be around your personal value system, your finances, how you make money. The third house is going to be around relationships with siblings or extended family. It's going to be around communication, schooling, early childhood stuff, especially around early childhood. The fourth house is about your home, your private life. It can be a lot around the family of origin, like the shaping of that, the parental figures, either father or mother. It kind of splits between the fourth and the 10th house. The fifth house is going to be around your creative center, where you express yourself, how you express yourself creatively, your leadership abilities, children, romances around the fifth house. Sixth house is going to be around your day-to-day routines. It's also about your true vocation and how you take care of yourself on a day-to-day basis. Seventh house is going to be around partnership, relationship, your close romantic as well as business partnerships or other close relationships within your life. Eighth house is about a deeper merging of relationships. It's about exchange. It's about the use of other people's resources and money, taxes, death, the occult, what's not particularly seen. So it's really about the unseen pieces. Ninth house is the higher side. So it's the typical Sagittarius stuff. It's about higher education, international travel, spirituality, looking at things from a higher perspective, the higher mind. 10th house is the most public place. It's usually around career. It can also be around parental figures, especially mothers, and your relationship in that regards. 11th house is around community. It's around the groups and associations that we have. And then the 12th house, of course, is the karmic closet. It is the unconscious. It is our past lifetimes. It is what is hidden. So it's got a lot more complexity to it. So those are the big like house themes. So wherever Gemini is in your natal chart, it's going to show you potentially some of the themes that you may be working on during this next 13-month cycle. The other big thing that's going to happen the second week of June is we've got Mercury entering Gemini. So we are going to have, again, acceleration of communications and information, all of those things coming to the forefront. And then on the 6th, we have the Gemini new moon, which is just a restart and a reframing of that Gemini energy. So again, these next this first week and a half of June is going to be very much Gemini focus, especially with Jupiter also in Gemini. So we're going to have that amplification energy there. Then on the 9th of June, Mars enters Taurus. So it's been in Aries for quite some time. It's also been conjunct Chiron recently, which is again giving us a lot of fuel to help us work through our wounds, our personal wounding, and to also help us accelerate our healing abilities. Mars has given us a lot of acceleration within that. And as it moves into Taurus, Taurus is about the embodiment of it. So we're grounding in all of the lessons that we've learned, all of the energies that we have had, that we've accelerated in. It's not particularly happy in Taurus because this is forcing us to really stop and sit in the mud. Really, it's like being stuck in the mud here with Mars and Taurus, but it is a very good thing for us to be able to utilize this energy to ground it in and to bring it into body, bring it into the here and now. So this is actually okay. It gives us a little bit of breathing room and a break. As we start to move our way through June, the week of the 16th is going to be another big pivot point because we've got Venus going into Cancer on the 16th, and then we have Mercury entering Cancer on the 17th. So it's going to be nice because Cancer is really about taking care of ourselves. It's about that nurturing, it's that mothering quality. And it is about going inward. It's about looking at ourselves, and especially the things that we tend to hide from other people, because Cancer in the 4th house is around about who we are behind closed doors. Okay, so those people who really know us because they live with us, they see the real version of us. And so we are looking at how do we take care of ourselves deeper, especially with Venus in Cancer. How are we nurturing ourselves? How are we loving ourselves at the deepest level? How are we taking care of ourselves? So Venus here, Venus likes, to be here. It's not native, but it's a little more comfortable here. And then Mercury in Cancer is going to be very emotional communications. We're going to be having a lot of communications that I think can be fraught with a lot of emotional pieces. So depending on how we're coming into this and how much work we've done on ourselves on the emotional landscape, we've got some communication going on around that. Cancer, of course, is very sensitive. It's very emotional. It's ruled by the moon. So there could be a lot of emotional wounding that could be coming up during this period that we need to be cognizant of. Hopefully with Venus there, it's going to help us stay a little bit more in the heart-centered instead of the blaming or the weaponized expression of Cancer. And then the 20th is the big day where we move into the Cancer mansion and we have the summer solstice. So this is always, again, a lovely time for expansion, for growth opportunities, for really going and tuning more into our heart and putting ourselves at the forefront. That whole eclipse season was about us stepping into our true authenticity, our true purpose, and having the fortitude to do that. This is then turning inward about our inner landscape and making sure that that's really well taken care of as well. And then immediately when we move in to the Cancer mansion, the very next day, we have the full moon in Capricorn. And it's interesting, we've got 2 back-to-back full moons in Capricorn. So this first one on June 21st is at 1 degrees Capricorn. So there's not a huge amount of Capricornian energy in this particular full moon. But when we get to July 21st, we're going to have the second Capricorn full moon of the year, and that one's going to be at 29 degrees. So that will be a very full expression. This is the anaretic degree. It is the kind of cleanup degree of that particular energy and sign. And so it's going to be interesting that we've got two Capricorn full moons, because as Cancer represents more of the mothering energy, Capricorn represents more of the father or grandfather energy. It is like the wise elder energy. And part of what we're looking at too as a collective is we're moving away from this Capricornian energy that we've been in for a while, and we're moving into this Aquarian energy. So we're looking at structures, we're looking at systems, we're looking at those type of things that we need to release from in order to go further into our heart, go deeper into ourselves, and really awaken within us our higher spiritual soul level viewpoint in life. And so this is going to be an interesting that we've got a double dose of that Capricornian energy going on. And then we're rounding out the month with Saturn going retrograde on June 29th. And then just when we hit July 2nd, Neptune is going to go retrograde. And we've had Saturn and Neptune both in Pisces. So the retrogrades will happen in Pisces. And, you know, Neptune is at home in Pisces. It is about the unseen. It's about the spiritual plane. It's about our higher self. Saturn, though, is the great teacher. It is the great taskmaster. And so it has been unveiling a lot of things to us. It's been taking down the illusions in many ways. It's been having us do a deeper dive in our toxic behaviors within that Piscean energy, which Pisces at the lowest octave can be about escapism. It can be about needing to use substances, for instance. Piscean energy is very tuned in to the energy around, and so that can be overwhelming. That can be too much. That can also put us into daydreaming. It can put us into illusions that aren't really accurate and truthful. But Saturn's been taking those illusions away. It's been tearing down the veils of illusions and having us look really hard at things. And it's also been having us tap deeper into who we are and who we are at a spiritual level, who we are at our soul level. We are spiritual beings just having a human experience, right? And so this has been tearing down the illusions and the veils that sometimes we can get caught up in within our own distorted psyche, right? And so this retrograde is going to be interesting as it winds its way through here for sure. So that is what June is looking like. I pulled two cards too from the Light Seers Tarot just to tune into what the collective energy is going to be around this June energy for everybody. And the first card that came up was this beautiful Seven of Wands. And I love this because you can see that she's sitting very peacefully in her power, but also in this balanced, peaceful state. And she has her heart chakra completely lit up, but she's also kind of got this bubble around her. But if you can see down here, all of these these wands are pointing, trying to get at her. And she's like, nope, I'm not having it. So to me, this really represents this whole idea that I was talking about earlier about standing in your truth, standing in your power, and also in some ways shutting out the outside noise and knowing that as long as you're following your heart and you are in a balanced and peaceful state, like you've untethered from all of the noise down here, that you are moving into more of this ascension, more of this higher consciousness. and are able to navigate through life in a way that's going to bring even more peace and more harmony around you. You know, the timeline shifts that we have been feeling lately has been really interesting because you can tell there's like these shifts going on where people who maybe have been in your life aren't really in your life, where you go out and you feel like you're out with people, but you also feel as though they don't necessarily see you sometimes, or you don't really see them. You're not really connecting or tethering in with people. And so this is kind of this feeling of that you're kind of in this, like, your armor of God's on. You are in this higher state of protected bubble. And so this is a really beautiful piece. The other one that came up was the King of Swords. And again, I really love this because it's also representing that higher vantage point, that we're zooming out and we're seeing things from a higher standpoint. Look at all of the animals, the owl, which is able to see things that are unseen. You've got the crow, you've got, I think, a dragonfly here, a butterfly. So there's a lot of flight. There's a lot of beautiful, these higher energies coming in, these higher perspectives happening, and also the ability to see things very logically, very calm. You're seeing things in a way that you're getting new perspective on. And it's almost as though, in some ways, it's like when you get an eagle card, or you get a hawk card pulled, like an animal spirit card. Those are looking at things from the 50,000 foot view, right? You just have a different perspective and you can come at it from a different way because you have that logic behind you. You have that ability to really see things in a way that makes a lot more sense, and is a lot more balanced and grounding. So these two are beautiful. I also love the balance between the feminine and the masculine, that these two are merging together and we're becoming more balanced within our masculine and our feminine energies as well, as we are moving into this. So again, the solstice is about finding that balance. Those are those balance points that we go through. And I feel like these two cards represent that balanced energy that we're going through. Yeah, so this is really what's going on in June. I will say that I've got another full moon circle coming up for that Capricorn full moon. And that's available through my free community on my website. And it is at stinamyers.com. The community is called Lagom. And Lagom is a Swedish word that means not too much, not too little. It's really about finding that sweet spot, that balance that we're all looking for to bring more harmony and peace into our lives. And so that particular one is going to take place on June 21st. That I think is a Friday night, and it will take place at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll have another one of these for the July 21st one. That will take place in the morning on Saturday morning, which will be on July 20th, 2024. So we'll do that one in the morning, and I'll have more details about that. You can also find more information if you're starting your spiritual journey, or you've been on your spiritual path for a while, but you want some additional tools and resources. I've got 7 pre-recorded classes that are available on my website that give you a lot of specific tools that you can put in your toolbox to help you navigate through this. There's things around the nervous system, being able to recalibrate and balance your nervous system. There's a whole thing on how to work with your energy field. And then if you want to actually learn a little bit more about how energy works, there's a whole course on how energy works scientifically, how we work with it, in the unseen pieces. And then there's even a Sui Reiki level 1, which is all the self-healing course that you can take to add those tools to the toolbox. So lots of different resources and tools available if you're interested. Anyway, I wish you all a very beautiful start to your June and leading up to the summer solstice as well. Many blessings to you.